Welcome everyone to the WCAT or WCAT podcast. It's a bit of a play on words for WCAG. We say WCAT because we're spilling the tea on digital accessibility. Ellie and I are co-workers who work at Accessibility Officer. We are co-instructors for the CAT program. CAT stands for Certified Accessibility Tester, and we just like to have fun with that. We like plays on words, and we have these digital conversations all the time, so we just figured we'd record it, share the gossip, share the news, things that work, things that don't work, share our journey, and we hope that anyone who's listening can at least understand digital accessibility a little more, or if they're interested in the field, or if they just want to tune in and listen to me and Ellie uh, jabber on for a couple of minutes, then please, we would love to have you. And yeah, that's pretty much what this podcast is going to be all about. It's not going to be scripted or anything like that. Just very, very genuine, just trying to be ourselves. So, Ellie, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, I'm Ellie Alvarado, and I'm one of the co-instructors for the CAT program. And yeah, I'm really excited to kick this podcast off and talk all things digital accessibility. It has truly changed my life, and I would love to see that be an opportunity to change yours.
Yeah, definitely. Ellie and I came up through the CAP program, and well, I'll get into that in just a little bit, but it's all about paying it forward. This CAP program also changed my life, and not to sound like I'm parroting Ellie, but the ability to just share what we do and to be able to empower others to doing the same things we're doing is something that we're both very, very passionate about. So, let's just kind of dive on in. Ellie, can you kind of tell us your journey as to how you came to work for Accessibility Officer, and your background in teaching, and then how you came to be here?
Sure. So I back in 2024, my family was hit with some pretty significant financial hardship. And a lot of my friends at the time were working for a different digital accessibility company.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, that company did not work with people who were living in the state of California at the time. So that kind of excluded me from being able to participate in that group of people who I knew who were doing that. That was really kind of disheartening. Like I was like, digital accessibility sounded like something that I definitely wanted to do. Many of the opportunities in that field are remote, and I am a mom of four children. So anything remote is obviously going to be a lot easier for me to tackle and be a lot more flexible with my kids and their chaotic, crazy schedules. So it was something I very much wanted to get involved with, but that was definitely a dead end for me and very, very hard to deal with. Um, and then I heard about the CAP program and signed up for it. My counselor, my voc rehab counselor, had absolutely no idea that digital accessibility testing was a thing, had never heard of the CAP program before. So I had to kind of clue her in on that. And then she reached out and got everything coordinated with accessibility officer. I had my skills baseline assessment. We do an assessment for all people who are interested in the program just so that we can get a good a good idea of where they're at with their skills because the program is very rigorous. Like I was told that it was going to be super hard, that it was going to be one of the hardest things I ever did. There was going to be a lot of information thrown at me in a relatively short amount of time. Um, so I had that skills baseline assessment, I want to say in like January, and the cohort that I belonged to started in March. I went through June of 2024. I got my
Mhm.
CAT certification, which is our own certification, stating that we can successfully find and document accessibility issues on a website. Plus the DHS Trusted Tester certification, which is a pretty rigorous, hard to get certification through the US government. So started off that, got both of those certifications, and then I started as an apprentice that July. And by November, I was starting to mentor CAT students, kind of sharing my
You mean
knowledge with
students that
them.
were coming up? You mean students that were
Yep.
coming up through the program at that
Yeah.
point? Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. And then eventually I got into substituting because we had a different instructor at the time, and B had just kind of come on as co-instructing. And so when one or either of them was absent, I would kind of fill in. And this last November, I got promoted to being a co-instructor, like a lead co-instructor. There's just the two of us now. So that's where I came
Awesome.
from and how I got into it.
So, so I have no background in teaching. I think the only claim to fame I have for teaching is teaching myself how to use the iPhone. Do you, I mean, did you have any background in that field or anything like that?
Yeah, so I always wanted to be a teacher from like the second grade on. Um, I've always just loved sharing knowledge with other people, seeing that light bulb moment happen where like they suddenly like something's not making sense, and finally it just clicks and
Mm,
they understand it, and it's just it's huge amount of excitement as an instructor to see that, and it you share in that student's joy at finally understanding the concept. So when I went to college, my focus was early childhood education, and I knew that that was going to be a tough field to get into because early childhood is birth through age 8. It's mostly the childcare space and preschool space.
mm,
And people tend to wig out a little bit when it comes to blind people supervising very small children. So I remember walking in on my first day of my first ever ECE class, and the professor telling me, you need to pick a different career because I've had blind students try to do this before and nobody's ever actually gotten a job in the field.
wow.
And yeah, it was like really a huge slap in the face. I was like, wow, like, okay, tell me that you don't believe in me without telling me that you don't believe in me.
Right,
But
exactly.
you know, the thing is, my parents raised me to always like never allow someone to tell me that I can't do something unless it's like flying an airplane or something like, obvious. But yeah, within reason, don't tell me I can't because you're just going to make me more determined to prove you wrong at that point. So my whole agenda became, I'm going to prove this lady wrong. And I did. I completed all the classes I needed to. I did internships. And through one of those internships, I ended up getting a job offer and working for several years for that childcare center that I did the internship at. It was very rewarding. It was very fun. But it's minimum wage. Like I can't
Mhm.
lie. Like it's a field that you do because you love it. You love children, you love teaching. You're just that's your passion. You do not go into that field wanting to make money. Um, so I moved from Michigan and ended up in California. Around the pandemic is when I thought about going back to the work for the first time. It was between my third and fourth children being born, but I was like, hey, I could work at a childcare center, possibly bring them with me at a reduced rate if I needed to, because that was my pace in the past. It was really nice.
Mhm.
And first couple of interviews didn't get a call back. And third one, I did get a job offer, but I was told due to California having it's called a line of sight rule, and they take it very literally. I would never be able to be left alone with children, no matter how much credentials I had, no matter how
Wow. I did not know that.
many years of experience. Yeah, I was like, okay, so minimum wage job, I can never be promoted. I can never get out of that rut. I was like, I'm not giving up, but I'm breaking up with this field. Like, I have got to do something more lucrative. I have three at that point, almost four children. Um, I have to do something else. And when I
Yeah.
heard about digital accessibility, I had always been a love of assistive technology, a lover of assistive technology. It had always been a huge part of my life. I was a kid that sat down with the Braille Note Empower, if you guys remember those way back in the day, the
You're dating
manual, and
yourself a
read it
little bit, huh?
cover to cover.
Mhm.
Yeah, and eventually the tech person from my school district would like call me about troubleshooting the Braille note because I knew more than he did, and they would have me tutoring other children in the use of it. So I always knew that that was a field that I would love to break into. So when that opportunity came along, it really scratched that itch for me. Like I get the best of both worlds. I get to test websites. I get to get into the HTML code, which I never thought I would love, but I truly do. And I get to teach. So it's a dream come true for me.
It's funny that you mentioned the Braille note because I don't remember the Braille note when I was a kid. I think we were born in the same year, 1991. So we're dating ourselves a little bit. I remember the Scholar. I don't know if you remember. It had the worst voice. It sounded like a Stephen Hawking robot, but worse. I think they called it the Berlin Speak way back in the day.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
that thing was my baby. I remember as a kid, just writing stories endlessly and just, now that if I were to ever go back, it would probably be super, super embarrassing. But I thought I was like going to grow up to be an author and all that stuff. But funnily enough, it's funny that there's a lot of similarities in your story, my story, in the sense that um, I've also toyed with the idea of going back to school. I've always kind of wanted to be a TVI, which is for me very, very ironic because growing up, I hated school. Did not want to get up, did not want to go to school, did not like anything about it. I didn't like learning. I was a typical slacker. But as a blind adult, I thought it would be very, very cool to be able to um, live in a way that young blind children could see that was a way that I could support myself, independence, and so they could, learn that this was possible. So that was kind of part of the reason why I wanted to be a TVI. But I have, like you, I have, a spouse and two kids. Well, you have four, I have two. But it's just never came up in the right time, and it might sound like an
Yeah.
excuse, but and it probably is partly an excuse. I'm just gonna be open and honest. I just didn't have time to go to school, or the super drive to go to school, and get work. But I met Tanner, who's the CEO of Accessibility Officer, playing beat baseball. And when he started the CAP program, he was networking, sharing his program with everyone. And to me, unlike Ellie, I didn't care about digital accessibility at all. It was going to be a means to an end. I was going to be able to support myself, support my wife, my kids. It had been 6 years from 2017 to 2023 that I hadn't had a job. I was sending out applications into the ether, left, right, and center, thousands and thousands of applications, got several interviews, got all dressed up, shaved, spick and span, and showed up to the interview. And I think as soon as they see the long white cane, there's just something that makes their heart skip a beat, and they go, "Oh, yep, that's not our guy." I specifically remember this one time where there was this gentleman who was interviewing me, and I thought, oh man, we connected, we were laughing, and we had a really great dynamic going on. And he was like, I love your attitude towards your blindness, because I was making all sorts of blind jokes at my own expense, and because that's just the kind of guy who I am. And we were just having a good old time. And I thought, man, I've got this in the bag. This guy and me, we've got a great connection going on. You know, it was going to be for a concierge position at some sort of hotel. So I was proving to him that I could people. And I was like, I've got this in the bag. I went home, and then about 2 hours later, I kid you not, I got an email saying that they had passed and went to someone else. So I reached out to him via text message. I was like, hey, Mr. So and so. Um, I just got the email with my denial and really sorry to hear it. Let me know if any other opportunities arise within your organization. Could you let me know if there's anything I could do personally to just possibly sway the opinion in a different direction for future reference? That guy had his red receipts on. I saw that he read it and he never responded. And I was just like, okay. So yeah, just, it was very, very disheartening. Now I can laugh at it now. I was mad then. But looking back, it was very, very discouraging to go for so long without work. Um, and I was trying so hard. And then when I heard about digital accessibility, I was like, I should just look into this. Um, I'm not interested in digital accessibility. I don't care. And then I came up to the program and I got my certifications, and then I started falling in love with the field. And I think that's perfectly okay. This field is difficult. No 2 days are going to be the same, and it's like a super, super hard scavenger hunt with rules. That's what I like about it. You have rules
Oh
to
yeah.
base your scavenger hunt off of, and then you've got to find those things and then explain to someone who knows nothing about the rules why these things are the way they are and how to fix it. So that's why I like it. I think it's super fun. And you're making a difference in people's lives. I think we service about 50 million people, and it's just very, very empowering to know that even though you'll never meet someone who came to the website that you've audited, I'm sure there are plenty of people with disabilities who've come to sites that we've impacted personally and have had a smoother experience because of that. So yeah, just goes to show that so long as you put in the time, the effort, it's there are definitely uh going to be positive things that occur at the end of everything. Um it's just, I'm sure Ellie, you two were, you know, when you were looking for work, trying to get work and hearing nothing. So it's just funny how those patterns
Oh
of
yeah.
sending out applications, signing up for Indeed and LinkedIn and all that stuff. And, you're a good writer, so I bet you your resume looked fantastic.
Yep.
But as soon as so it wasn't the applications that gave you work, but it was networking because I met Tanner through Beat Baseball. I told you about the program, and then
Yep.
you came in, and then it's just word of mouth. Networking, sharing, peopling is how you get work, especially in this field where reputation is so important. Because, um, you know, if you wouldn't want to hire someone who is known for, being a flake or whatever.
Yeah.
So, Tanner says this thing about I don't remember the exact quote. I want to say it's something like um uh applications don't hire people, people hire people or something
People
like that.
hire people. Yep.
Yeah, something like that. And so it's just, it just highlights to me because again, 6 years, no jobs. As soon as I started networking with Tanner, job and I got a job after 4 months of the program. So,
I feel like
um,
people have a picture of who they're going to hire in their mind when they're doing interviews. And if you do not look like their picture, then you
mm.
aren't going to get passed over for someone who looks more like that picture.
Exactly. It's also, I feel like, I get it because let's say if you have two candidates and one of them is blind and one of them is not, or one of them has a disability that will need reasonable accommodations and the other one does not. And from a purely operational point of view, whether that be through logistics or financial, your company is going to want to save money, and it's just easier to hire someone without a disability. So I get that. I get that. Those patterns persist constantly. Um, so it's really just being able to um, network with other people and show people you're willing to show up, willing to do the work, put in the effort, the sweat, and the tears.
Yeah.
I always
Yep.
joke
I've never been
around.
hired unless it was through an internship. Like
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
at the daycare, um I did a couple of internships with them and then I took a couple of months off to do some non-childcare related classes. And my former boss texted me and was like, "The kids miss you, we miss you. Would you like a job?" And I
Hmm.
don't think I would have gotten that offer had I not had that chance in the internship to prove my skill, to prove my capability, to prove that I'm going to be an asset versus a liability. Because I feel like that's where they kind of categorize people with disabilities. They see us as are, oh my gosh, is my insurance premium going to go up because I've hired someone disabled? Are they going to be as efficient at their job as someone who does not have a disability? Those are the questions that go through people's minds.
Absolutely. It's it's normal if you're listening out there, right? It's normal to feel stuck or confused or that you just need a break. And maybe the CAT program is your break, right? We want to share a program because this program has obviously changed our lives. I went from being a dad, not having to work to, you know, being cooped up in my room, working all day. I'm sure Ellie's the same way, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get sick of these four walls sometimes, but I think everyone does in their office space, whether it's their bedroom or some office downtown.
Yeah. Definitely. So, if you're listening, just know that we have gone through these things. We are, Ellie and I, we decided that when we decided to do this podcast, that we were going to be open and vulnerable and not make crap up. Because if we do, what's the whole point, right? We're just normal people, Joe Schmo, who got a break and decided that this was going to be the time where we would put in the effort to see what we could do when we truly put our minds to it. The CAP program is that chance. It's difficult. It's 14 weeks of very rigorous graduate level material. We teach it. We teach you how to leverage your assistive technology in order to find and document these digital accessibility violations. We work with you halfway. We work with you and we'll meet you halfway every single time. If you show us as a student that you're willing to put in that effort, that you are going above and beyond the bare minimum, we will do our utmost to meet you and to drag you across that finish line. We just can't carry you because if we carry you, we become your security blanket. And when we're gone or when we're busy dealing with other students, you crumble. So, um, if you're listening, and you're interested in the CAP program, reach out to us. If you're listening and you are interested in uh, learning more about digital accessibility or learning more about the people behind the power that is Standard Gears at Accessibility Officer, or if you want to learn more just about all sorts of different success criteria, please tune in next time because we're here to share, we're here to have those conversations of things we've lived through, things we've seen, and we just want to share. So, thank you guys all for listening and have a great day. Spill the tea on digital accessibility.
Subscribe to the WCAT WeCat podcast on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Links below.